Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 budget-friendly tools or pieces of equipment for whitetail habitat work. And with Christmas right around the corner, hopefully you have all your shopping done. But if you have someone in your life that loves whitetail habitat work, these are definitely some good ideas and they won't break the bank. And when I say budget-friendly, I mean budget-friendly. I think 3 of the 5 items are under $100 and the 2 that aren't are not that much further over. I also wanted to say that I am not sponsored by any of the companies that make these products, and there are plenty more than just 5 budget-friendly tools for whitetail habitat work, but these are my top 5. This list is in no particular order, but I am going to save the tool that I use the most for last. The first piece of equipment that we're going to talk about that's essential for anyone that wants to do whitetail habitat work is a seed spreader. And as you can see, I've got 2 models here. I've got the Solo model and I've got the Earthway model. If you want to control the deer movement in your neighborhood and more specifically on your property, then you need to give the deer everything that they need: food, water, and cover. If you don't have the big equipment like tractors, ATVs, or seed drills to help you implement your food plot program, then you need to pick up a seed spreader. These over-the-shoulder seed spreaders are not very expensive, and they allow you to provide a good, consistent seeding rate and coverage throughout your food plots. And you're not just going to be using this to throw down seed. You're going to be using this to put down fertilizer, pelletized lime. These seed spreaders get a lot of use in the spring and in the fall. And I will say that I use the Earthway model more than I use the Solo model, only because it's much lighter. And if I'm putting in plots on several different properties, I'm going to be using this lighter version simply so I don't tire out as fast. So if you're somebody that's interested in putting in food plots for next year's hunting season, definitely look into an over-the-shoulder seed spreader. For the second budget-friendly tool used for whitetail habitat work, let's again stick with food plots. And the second item I'd recommend looking into is a backpack sprayer. There can be a lot of challenges when putting in a food plot, whether it's the pH, whether it's the food plot not getting enough sunlight. But one of the biggest reasons why a particular food plot failed was because the weeds were not addressed appropriately. If you're putting in a plot for the first time, it is crucial that you address the weeds before planting. If you work up the ground without addressing the weeds and you plant your plot will come in, but so will all those weeds. You might have killed some of the weeds, but most likely what you did is you just turned that plant over and they're going to start growing relatively quickly. And so now your plot has a lot of competition with broadleaf weeds and grasses. And so again, what you need to do is address the weeds up front with herbicide. If you don't have a sprayer mounted on big equipment like a tractor or an ATV, a backpack sprayer is the way to go. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Spraying weeds with a backpack sprayer is a lot of hard work. This backpack sprayer only holds 4 gallons, where your ATV models, your tractor models, those hold 25 gallons, 50 gallons. So you're going to be needing to do a lot more trips with the backpack sprayer, but you can get the job done. These backpack sprayers are really good for those small kill plots, those food plot trails, those plots that are way back where you can't get any equipment in. And again, if you're someone that's interested in getting into food plotting, this is one piece of equipment that you're definitely going to want to look into. The third budget-friendly tool for whitetail habitat work is the most expensive one, but it's the one that you can do the most work with, and that's a chainsaw. And I'll start out by saying that if you do buy a chainsaw, please follow all the recommendations and the procedures for chainsaw safety. And if you're not comfortable using a chainsaw, then this is not something for you. Hire the workout instead. But if you are comfortable and you are going to follow all the safety guidelines, a chainsaw is a must-have for anyone interested in doing deer habitat work. There are so many projects in the deer woods that require a chainsaw. Any type of a food plot that you're putting in the timber, you're going to need to take down trees, block them up, and move them out of the way. A lot of times if you're trying to direct deer traffic, you're going to have to drop a tree on their existing trail to encourage them to use a different trail. You can use a chainsaw to drop trees to screen your access, to screen off neighbors. And I'm just thinking about these off the top of my head right now, and so I know that I'm missing a lot of projects that require the use of a chainsaw. And I'm not going to recommend a certain saw over another one. There are plenty of good saws out there. This just happens to be a Stihl. Husqvarna makes a great saw. So I encourage you guys to do your own research and figure out what saw fits your budget and what one you're comfortable using. And I will say all of these 5 tools are extremely important and they each have their specific purpose. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck and make the biggest difference on your whitetail property, the tool that you need to look into is a chainsaw. The fourth budget-friendly tool for whitetail habitat work goes hand in hand with a chainsaw. And if you're someone that wants to start manipulating deer movement or creating bedding areas on your property, one tool that you should look into is the Habitat Hook by Nations Creations. If you're somebody that's been doing habitat work on your property for some time, then you most likely know what a habitat hook is. But if you just purchased your property, or if you're someone that's doing habitat work for the first time, the habitat hook is a great tool to help you with hinge cutting. And we will definitely do a more detailed video on the habitat hook and hinge cutting in general. But basically what hinge cutting is you're cutting a tree no bigger than 10 inches in diameter, about halfway or a little more than halfway through, so the tree slowly tips over, lays on the ground, while remaining attached to the root system. So that tree will remain alive for years. And again, the reason that tree is staying alive is because you're only cutting about halfway through, and because the top of that tree that's now laying on the ground is still connected to the root system, that tree is still going to leaf out every year. And now what you're doing is you're providing a lot of cover and a lot of food at the deer's level. So while that tree was standing, all those leaves were blocking sunlight, but now that you've dropped that tree, you've brought all those leaves to the forest floor, again providing food and cover for the deer. And in order for that tree to stay alive for years to come, you have to have a successful hinge, and that's where this habitat hook comes in. If you were to cut that tree until it started to fall on its own, you have a much higher chance of that hinge breaking. So if you're able to, you want to cut just before the tree starts to fall on its own, and then use the habitat hook to either pull the tree down or to push the tree down. This allows you to guide the tree down, providing a much softer landing, giving you a much higher success rate with your hinge cuts. So if you're somebody that's looking to create some bedding areas, travel corridors, steering tunnels, then I would definitely recommend checking out the habitat hook by Nations Creations. The final budget-friendly tool for whitetail habitat work is something that I use more than all the other items combined, and I do not walk my property without it, and that's a handsaw. If you're somebody that's serious about whitetail habitat work, you're going to be doing a lot of maintenance, a lot of fine-tuning on your projects. Whether it's manicuring deer trails, cutting out deer beds within hinge cuts, cutting out invasives, cutting out shooting lanes, hinge cutting, this little saw can do it all. One really nice thing about these saws is they don't have to be very expensive. I think I got this one at Ace Hardware for around $20. It's a very effective saw, it's small, it can fit in my pocket, that way I can have it whenever I need it. I love directing the deer traffic through my property with creating my own deer trails, and this is a great tool for that. You're obviously not going to be able to cut down the larger, more mature trees with this saw, but this is all you need for getting through that thick, nasty brush to direct deer traffic from point A to point B. We also have a lot of raspberry, blackberry, multiflora rose on this property, and throughout the summer that starts to encroach on my clover trails. And this saw makes trail maintenance very easy. I can walk up and down the trails cutting all the multiflora rose down, making it much easier for our family to use those trails. I also mentioned creating deer beds within hinge cuts. This tool makes it much easier for you to navigate through those hinge cuts where a chainsaw is just too bulky and quite frankly dangerous if you're going to be trying to squeeze into those tight locations to create those deer beds. So guys, those are my top 5 budget-friendly tools for whitetail habitat work. If you guys are interested in finding these particular items, I'll try to find the links and put them in the description of this video. But if you guys have any other budget-friendly tools that you use for whitetail habitat work, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you have any questions, please drop those comments and questions in the comment section below. I'll get back to those as soon as I can, and we will see you guys in the next video.